everybody, it's Diana. Today we will take a look at when Pisces may feel like they're stuck in a situation and some of the advice we have for Pisces to get out of the situations or get out of, or how to deal with it, I should say, when you guys are feeling like you're stuck. Put them right over here and over. Right away, when I see the combination of these three cards, one word comes to mind, and that's control. So of course, you know, when we have sudden changes in life where, say, you were offered a job and you signed the contract thinking that everything is going to be just fine, and you go away for a quick weekend getaway, and by the time you come back you realize that the company has been like bought out or sold out, or something completely out of the blue happens or unexpected. I think most people will feel absolutely out of control and completely stuck in a crazy situation. That could be an example of one of the situations where you guys might feel like you're stuck. Or another situation is again, you know, this is a very generalized scenario. It's not going to apply to a lot of you who's watching it, but it may apply to some of you. So for example, if you got into a relationship that has been a long distance relationship and you agree to, you know, after talking about it with your spouse or your partner, you decided to move across the country or move to another city for this person. And once you get there, you have a sudden realization that maybe they haven't been entirely honest with like a certain elements of your relationship, whether maybe there's some infidelity or their job is not as stable as they have presented to you, while, you know, when they're trying to persuade you to make the cross-country move. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I sold my house, I terminated my lease, I quit my job, I moved across to this other coast, to this other city, country, town for my partner, and now I just got here and I'm realizing things are not what I thought. It's not how it was presented to me. It comes very suddenly. You feel like, holy cow, I'm absolutely just stuck in this crazy situation. It'll probably take you a little while to reassess and get your bearings. So that's another scenario where you could feel like completely stuck and the situation was completely out of your control. It's almost like it was just suddenly you got dropped in this chaos and you didn't even know. Another potential situation where you guys could feel like you're getting frustrated, you feel like you're stuck, is when your sense of happiness or reality or situation was challenged. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times in our mind, we have this vision of how life is going to be, how everything, when we plan out what our life will look like down the road. So for example, say you're just graduating college, or you just got your master's. This whole time in your mind, you know, you're thinking, you know, I'm working hard, I'm making my sacrifices, I am not going out on the weekends some of the times because I had to study or I had to dedicate to my work or schoolwork. And you did all those sacrifices, and in your mind you're like, you know what, once I graduate I will get a good job, I will be able to travel, I will be able to explore and live my life. And all of a sudden you are at the end of your education, you graduated, and all of a sudden the economy is down the toilet, or for whatever reason you can't secure that job. It's almost like you feel like somebody lied to you about your future, and you just completely disheartened and you feel lost and you can feel confused. And you just feel like you're stuck in this nightmare and you don't even know what to do. It's like somebody lied to you. Or another scenario could be you have been working a lot of overtime, working weekends, working night, because you and your work had this understanding that if you put in 3 to 6 months of hard work, then by the end of the year or by the end of this project, they will give you like a big promotion. And now the project, now it's either end of the year or now the project is done and you did all that sacrifice. And then now they're telling you, you know what, like things are not going well for the company and they can't give you this promotion because there's no budget for it. And I think that will make most of us feel frustrated and you just feel like somebody lied to you and your vision of what someone else promised to you about your future, your life, was a lie, or they didn't quite deliver their part of the agreement, I think I should say. And then you're like, oh my gosh, now I did all this and I'm completely just stuck in this insane situation. I'm just so unhappy. And a part of you, I can see that you feel very angry as well because you know the sacrifices you had to make to get there. And now you've held up your end of the bargain and they didn't. And it could be a very, very frustrating situation that you're experiencing right now. And another potential obstacle that could make you guys just feel like, oh my God, what's going on is, again, it's again about long-term planning that's completely gone out of whack and your plans didn't exactly pan out the way you thought. So you could have been planning all along that you want to go, say, get your master's degree. And this whole time that you were counting on certain family support for financial support, or you're getting a grant or a scholarship, and that has been the direction everything has been proceeding this whole time. And now you are, I don't know, a month from enrolling and starting your school, and all of a sudden your family had a setback and they're no longer able to give you the financial support that was promised. And it's again completely out of their control as well, because say your family was going to help you and now all of a sudden their business is doing extremely poorly and they're on the brink of, say, like a really big financial setback, possibly bankruptcy. Of course, you can no longer count on that money, or you've gotten a scholarship and something absolutely crazy happened and then they are not able to extend you the full amount. They're only going to be able to give you, say, half of it. And you just feel like, oh my gosh, what you have been planning on and counting on for your future, for your plan, is completely just falling apart. And there's going to be a lot of fear and frustration, a lot of sadness. And again, it comes down to this like lack of control, and you're just being taken out of your comfort zone and things just completely falling apart in the least expected way. So whenever I look at these three cards, and I just think that, of course, if any one of us are put in this situation, we are going to feel like the rug got pulled out from under us and we are completely stuck in the situation without any help or without any support. It's a very terrifying or at least depressing time for a lot of us. It goes back to, when you read these three cards together, it comes down to when a sudden situation that comes that completely you did not foresee in any way, and you feel like you no longer have the resource or the support that you were counting on, and that's going to interfere with your long-term vision of what your life or your marriage or your relationship or your career, like how you had it pictured in your head, or what you have your heart set on, or your just long-term career is just not all of a sudden going to work out. It's almost like life handing you a bunch of lemons all at once, and you're being asked to take a long and hard look at your life and having to reassess and unstuck yourself. And I think these are some of the potential situations where for a lot of us, especially Pisces, you're going to feel completely stuck. And the cards below are some suggestion cards, as well as some of the lessons you're being asked to learn. And right away, I'm seeing like Two of Swords. So again, these cards can all have multiple meanings. And right away, when I'm looking at this card, I'm immediately thinking of this whole like loss of balance. But the loss of balance has lots to do with you, like how your heart is feeling, what's important to your heart, and what your brain is telling you that you almost don't want to see. So this feels like a situation where you're just so upset and you feel so like off keel about everything. You almost just want to stick your head in the sand and not seeing the big picture. There's very much an energy of stalemate here, but it's in some ways it could be like certain elements of it could feel like it's almost self-inflicted. So one example could be the earlier example we're talking about. If you quit your job and moved out of your apartment to go across the country to be with your sweetheart, and once you got there, you realize maybe your sweetheart has been in touch with his or her ex, and this is one of those ex that you just absolutely hate, and you don't want them to be in touch with that ex, and they haven't been upfront with you about their continuing friendship, and you are just so angry and hurt. But because you now have moved across the country and quit your job and left your circle of close friends to be with your sweetheart, you feel absolutely stuck. And then you're just upset, you're fighting all the time, you're picking fights, both of you are miserable. I think this card is saying, you know what, it's right, you're in an unfair situation. They were not truthful about it, and you feel like you're stuck and you're angry, and you blame yourself for trusting them, and at the same time you're angry at them for not being honest with you. Maybe take a step back. Take a step back and ask yourself, is this a deal breaker? Have a long, hard talk with yourself about if this is indeed a deal breaker. If it's a deal breaker, then there are certain things you need to do as a result of realizing that this is a deal breaker. And if your partner is not willing to honor this, then this might not be the most ideal relationship for you. Or you realize, you know what, whatever they're doing that's made you feel upset, it may not be a deal breaker. If that's the case, then you guys sit down, have a heart-to-heart, and see if maybe both of you could take a step back and make some compromises. There's definitely a lot of energy about compromises and thinking and looking outside the box, as well as finding that balance. I mean, let's face it, sometimes in life, we realize certain things are deal breakers for us, and it's so hard to admit it to ourselves, especially because if you already put a lot of effort and made a lot of sacrifices, then you don't want to have things not work out because all the time and energy and possibly money you have invested. But if that's indeed is a situation that it is a deal breaker and there's no way out, it's just not the right relationship or the right job, sometimes it's better just to end this quicker and have an end so you can actually start the healing process. But if it's a situation where it's not a deal breaker and you can salvage this job, this friendship, this relationship, this business, then once you admit it to yourself that, you know what, you're not ready to part way with it, and then you can actually take a step back and start thinking about, you know what, I'm not ready to part way with it yet. I can make a compromises on 1, 2, 3, and maybe this person can make decisions. I can ask this person to make some adjustment as well, and then to see if you guys can come to an agreement. Another possibility is sometimes maybe you've decided you're not ready to part ways with this relationship yet, and then you want to salvage it or at least save it as much as you can, and then you sit down and have this conversation with your partner, and through the conversation and the communication, both of you start to realize, you know what, maybe we're better off as friends, and then you make decisions together and start figuring out what to do as the next step. this is not a definitive card either way. It's merely asking you to have yourself to be able to sit down, remove yourself from the situation, and have a deep heart-to-heart, whether it's an hour, a day, a week, possibly longer, and figure out what is it you really want to do. Once you've made the decision, you can start approaching whatever this challenge is right now, and then go from there. So this card is not really telling you either or. It's merely suggesting that you need to take some time out, have a come to Jesus moment with yourself, and then take it from there. This card on the other side talks about a lot of times while we're trying to while we're trying to assess a situation and make a decision, a lot of times when you do feel stuck, it's almost like you're in a downward spiral. You go down this rabbit hole and you just get more and more upset as you run through the scenario through your head over and over again. It might not be a bad idea to remove yourself from the situation and literally, change your scenery. So what I mean is, maybe you got in a big fight with your spouse. Go to your best friend's house for the weekend to clear your head, and then have someone else to lean on and have a conversation, or go to your sister's house or go to your cousin's house. Literally remove yourself a lot of times when we literally remove ourselves from a situation where we go somewhere else physically, it can help with clear up your head and take a look at the big picture and just think about things from a different perspective, right? Because someone once told me that when she was on the eve of a huge breakup that lasted like 8 years, she went to one of her friend's house a couple hours away, and just by removing herself from all the fighting, all the screaming, she's able to really clearly think a lot more clearly. And then when she sort of sitting with her friends in this restaurant in a different environment and watch how other healthy couples interact with each other, that's when she realized, that's what she had is just not healthy anymore. And she wanted to be out of that situation. But it was so hard for her to see that while she was, in the same apartment and fighting with her partner the whole time. So a lot of times if you're able to remove yourself from a situation, you will be able to see things a lot more clearly. And who knows, maybe it's just a space you need. Or if you realize that you worked really hard for the last year and a half, your job was supposed to give you a raise or a big raise or a big promotion, and they couldn't do it, and you feel like you're completely taken advantage of, but you also feel stuck because you invested all this time and extra overtime and sacrifice the weekends and evenings working, and you're just so frustrated. Maybe it's not a bad idea to go visit your family in another town and update your resume, and then spend some time on LinkedIn and just look at other opportunities. And maybe you just want to casually start interviewing for some other positions, because as you focus on this other possibilities or other good options for you, you're mentally removing yourself and unstuck yourself. And as you talk to other jobs or hiring managers, and as you may be getting into interviews and getting offers, and you'll be like, you know what? I have other options for me. You might actually end up taking one of those jobs and completely unstuck yourself from the situation. Or maybe you're able to get a new offer for a job that you can take, or maybe not in love with, but at least you have another offer, and you take that back to your current job and see if you can use that as a leverage and get what you have been wanting this whole time, what would they have promised you this whole time. And depends on what they say. If they really want to keep you, then obviously they're going to try to do what they can do to match your offer, give you the raise, give you the promotion, and then you'll improve your situation. Or if they really say they can't, then at least you know that this company just can't match it, and for whatever reason, then you can truly make a decision whether you try something different and give yourself, like, open a new door for yourself to go a different path. I think it's all about sitting back, reassess, and take a look at what other options you have. And sometimes to be able to clearly reassess our situation, we just have to leave, whether it's physically, mentally, go to a different town, go to a different city. The whole idea here is to give yourself the ability to think clearly. And a lot of times when we're in the midst of a crazy situation, you're just going to feel more stuck. You're not going to be able to get that freedom that you needed to think clearly and make a better decision for your future. And Nine of Cards is very much about discipline and self-control. And possibly you need to make a little bit of sacrifice so you can have that better future for yourself. So what I mean by that is, say you find out, say you moved across the country and find out that your partner has been cheating on you. I think a lot of times some of us might get so angry, you just want to go completely postal and do all sorts of crazy things to that person. I think this very much speaks to, you just have to have, in the midst of craziness, you still have to have the self-discipline, self-control to, like, not burn all his belongings and not to set the house on fire. It's about just really just take a step back and then cool your head and really plan out, because obviously if they cheated on you, and assuming that you don't want to be in a relationship with somebody who is a cheater, because crazier things have happened. I know plenty of people who are in drama-filled relationships because they just can't bring themselves to leave for one reason or another. But I think for the rest of us that I think as we get older and more mature, we all appreciate peace. Sometimes we just want to have peace in our life and more balance. So obviously, once you find that your partner is no longer suited for you, maybe, don't burn all his stuff. Pack your own bag, take whatever clothing you need for a few days, go to your best friend's house, go to your parents' house, go to your cousin's house, remove yourself from that situation, and then stay with somebody that you're close to that's not in the same house, of course. So you're able to look for an apartment, give yourself some time to find an apartment, move all your stuff out. This really speaks to be very methodical, like be a little bit more cool-headed even in the midst of craziness. Or the situation could be that you realize that you have been doing all this job, and then excuse me, you have been doing this job of sorry guys, the Amazon only comes apparently when I'm recording. So all right, so what I was saying is before, so another possible scenario is if you guys have been working really, really hard for a project, or slaving away, sacrificing weekends and weekdays and just giving it all for the last year or possibly longer, and then you thought you were going to get that next promotion, next big pay increase, and then when it comes time for it, like, holy cow, not only did they not give you the promotion or the big pay raise that you were anticipating, they gave it to somebody on your team that in your mind have not been doing any of the work and have been really leaning on you to do all the work. I think that's just one of those situations that you would be completely upset and feel like you're just going to lose your stuff. So in that situation, I think your instinct would just be, you know what, the heck with it. You might want to storm out, quit on the spot, just go completely ballistic, which I think is a very natural response. It's a very human response. But this card is saying that, instead of quitting on the spot, cursing out your management team, cursing your coworkers, maybe tell them you need to take the afternoon off. Take some time off, cool your jets, reassess your situation, maybe polish up your resume, update your resume, and then apply for another job. And once you get this other job, then you can tell your current team, you know what, I had my heart set on this promotion. Clearly it's not working out. I don't really feel valued, and then I'm going to pursue another path. And then, because, a lot of times these days we need to have references when we go from job to job. So of course you want to be able to leave in the most diplomatic way that you can. versus just going completely off the rail, be ballistic. Of course, I think that's going to feel great just to curse them out and storm out. But I think in the long term, you don't want to do anything that you may end up regretting. And that's essentially what the cards is saying. So to sum it up, whenever some of the situations you guys might feel stuck is, when something unexpected, completely unexpected happen and you feel like you've lost control of your life or your situation and you just feel like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And some of the advice cards for you is very much take a step back, reassess the bigger picture and trying to think outside the box to see what are some of your options. Maybe remove yourself from the situation with a change of scenery. So for the very purpose of clear your head and think a little bit more clearly so you can figure out what to do. And then don't lose your cool, because in the long run, of course it might make you feel good at the time to storm out and curse people out, whatever that situation is. But if you're really able to step back and think a little bit more with a more clear head, then I think you'll be able to make decisions that not only help you move forward, unstuck you from the situation, and then when you look back, you probably have less chance of regrets. And again, that's what I see. And I hope this reading was helpful for you, especially if your sun, rising, or moon is in Pisces. And then I hope you find this video entertaining. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and I hope you have a fantastic day. And I will speak to you guys again very soon. Thank you.